Hey there everyone, Tom Day here. Welcome back to the Default Agent channel. Today I'm going to be doing broker price opinion training for you all. Being able to do BPOs is a necessary skill if you want to get REO listings. This is going to be the first of at least 8 different training videos that I'm going to do on how to be an REO agent. So be sure to subscribe to the channel so you get notified of new lessons. And also hit that like button. I'm not getting paid for this. That's all I got is your likes. Now, broker price opinions, there are 2 types. There is the exterior BPO, also known as a drive-by BPO. You're just going to go out to the property, take several photos of the exterior home, and then fill out the BPO form and come up with an estimated value. And then there's interior BPOs, which is a more detailed BPO, in which you get access to the property and you're going to take photos of all the rooms in the property, as well as take photos of any necessary repair issues that you might come across. You're also going to take photos of the entire exterior of the property. Now you can make some extra money doing BPOs. They pay $40 to $50 usually for a drive-by BPO, and anywhere from $65 up to maybe $100 for an interior BPO. You may even get asked to do a BPO with no fee attached to it. And I would encourage you to go ahead and do that BPO, because the BPOs that have no fees are more likely to lead to an REO listing. Now, lately I've been doing 1 or 2 BPOs a month. I'm not going to walk you through one of my actual BPOs because that's confidential information, and that I wouldn't want to upset my asset managers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a mock BPO. I found a bank-owned property in the tax records locally, and I'm going to actually go out to the property, take photos of it, and then I'm going to come back and walk you through the form that I fill out and show you exactly how I do the BPO. So let's go out to the property and take those photos, and I'll meet you right back here. All right, I'm about to go approach the property and take some photos. A few things about pictures in general before I do that. Now, as for the camera I use, my Galaxy phone takes fantastic pictures, and I use it all the time for everyday photos. But for my BPOs and all my REO work, I prefer to use my trusty old Panasonic digital camera. Why? Well, it has a wide angle Leica lens. It's much better for taking photos indoors. You can get a lot with the wide angle lens. You can get a lot more into the photo than I find that I can with my camera phone. I can zoom it in and out easily with one finger. It has a great flash. You don't want dark pictures in your photos. And the settings I use for BPOs and all my REO work is different than for my everyday photos. I only need very small files, pictures with less than 1 megabyte. Plus you also want your time and date stamp on your pictures, and those I don't want on my everyday photos. So rather than having to switch back and forth on my Galaxy phone, which I will inevitably forget, and I will end up with no time and date stamps on my pictures, I prefer to use my old digital phone. So we're going to go drive past the subject property and take a few photos. So I prefer to take my photos from inside my car, so I'm less noticeable to the occupant of the property and the neighbors. I'm going to be taking photos of the left side of the house. I'm going to be taking a photo of the direct straight on front of the house. I'm going to get an address verification. It might be on the mailbox or actually posted by the door or somewhere on the house. And I'm going to get the right side of the property Be sure to check the instructions that you're given. Each BPO company or asset managers may have different specifications on the photos that they need for the report. Finally, I'm going to get street view photos, which will show what the homes in the neighborhood look like. You may only need one, but some of them might want street view photos in both directions. Now, before you get too far away from the property, you're going to want to check your photos to make sure that they're all good. You have all the correct photos you need, and they're not blurry, and they're in good shape. Because the worst thing is to have to go back to the property and take more photos. That just sucks. All right, so here are the photos I took. I took a photo of the front of the property at a slight angle, so you get a little bit of depth. You can see a little bit of the side of the house as well. I took another one directly from the front of the house. I took a close-up of the address. That's the address verification. They're all going to want an address verification photo. And then I took two shots of the street view, one in each direction. Now this second one is a little dark, so I'm going to edit it because I like to have nice bright pictures. So I use my editing software on my computer and do a quick brightening. So you can see, you get a good view of all the neighborhood homes. There, isn't that a much better photo than the one I took? It only took me about 10 seconds to make that a much better picture. I would suggest that if you have any dark photos that you do your best to brighten them up. All right, so let's take a walk through a fairly standard form. Now, in reality, you're going to be doing your broker price opinion online. You'll be directed to a website where you're going to fill in all the data. That wasn't practical, so what I have here is a PDF form that I'm going to fill out for you all. It's pretty much the same information that you're going to be filling in, but this is just simpler for you all to visualize. You're going to be entering the same information, and I'm going to walk you through this form. You're going to begin with the property address, the tax assessor's parcel number, the date completed. You're going to give an update on the general market conditions, whether they're depressed, slow, stable, or excellent like we are in today, most likely. They'll want to know about employment conditions, the number of owners versus tenants in your neighborhood, the supply of inventories, and whether REOs are a factor, if there are competing REOs in the market area. Now, where do you find some of this information? Well, as a realtor, you have many sources of information for market conditions. I use both IMAP and RPR primarily. If you don't have those, you must have some other substitute. I find, for example, RPR can tell me exactly what the ratio of owners to tenants is. Then the MLS should be able to tell you how many of the competing listings are REOs or short sales. You're going to do a lot of commentary in the BPOs that you're doing. You may be asked to give commentary on what's going on in the neighborhood of the subject property. You'll be asked to comment on the condition of the comparables that you're going to be using, and then you may be asked to, and then you'll be commenting on how exactly you came up with the figure that you have for your BPO, the valuation that you have. Moving on down the form, we have what's going on, a range of values in the neighborhood, whether the subject property has been on the market or not, the type of property it is, whether it's part of an HOA, and if it is part of an HOA or condominium association, they're going to want you to try and find the contact number as well. You're going to fill in 3 sold comparables, and you're going to fill in all the details on the listed comparables, and you're going to also list any necessary repairs if you are able to spot any. And then you're going to come up with your market value. Now, each asset manager or BPO company you're working with, forms may be slightly different. Some may just ask you for a market value. Some of them may want an as-is valuation, and then they might want what it would take to sell that property in 30 days or less, a quick sale valuation, in other words, and or a repaired value. If the house is in disrepair, you're going to come up with one value, but you're going to come up with another value if the repairs in question are done. So this one is pretty simple. It's only asking for the market value, so that's all I'm going to get. That's all I'm going to give. And you'll have to upload your photos that you've already taken. And finally, the comments here are going to be how you came to the conclusion of the estimate of value that you had. So let's begin by finding these comparables. Now, according to the BPO standards and guidelines, which you can download, by the way, along with this actual BPO, those guidelines are going to determine how you choose the comparables that you're going to use in your BPO. Beginning with location. In an urban location, you're ideally going to find your comparables within a half mile. If it's a suburban location, then you can travel out 1 mile. And if it's a rural location, then the guidelines say you can go as far as 5 miles to find your comparables. So this being a suburban location, I'm going to search 1 mile out for my comparables. I'm gonna begin by looking for the closed sales. Ideally, you're going to want to use comparables that are no more than 90 days old. If you can't find enough that are within 90 days, then you go out to 180. You can even go as far back as a year. Now you can even go as far back as a year, but in a market like today's, you wouldn't want to use a year-old listing. There's just been too much appreciation since then. And I won't have any trouble finding 3 closed sales in the last 90 days or so. Certainly 180. So I'm going to search for properties that are within 20% of the living area. I prefer to use the ones that are as close as possible to the subject property. I want to keep the bed and bathroom count the same if possible. This property has a swimming pool, so I also want to find homes that have a swimming pool. So ideally I'll find 4-bedroom homes with a swimming pool within 1 mile and no more than 400 square feet more or less than this subject property. So fast forward, here are the properties that I chose as my comparables. You'll notice that actually one has actually closed since I started doing this project. But anyway, this one, the number 3 is actually when I started this, was an active property for sale. So they all have 3 or 4 bedrooms. They all have 2 bathrooms, and all but 2 of them have swimming pools. I'll have to make adjustments for bedroom count, bed and bathroom count, and in a couple cases the swimming pool. it would have been necessary for me to go well beyond the market area to find 4-bedroom homes uh, the same size with swimming pools. So I'm going to go for making adjustments rather than traveling beyond the market area. All right, so fast forward again. Uh, you don't want to watch me type all this in, so it's all filled out here, and I'm going to walk you through what I came up with. Now, the general market conditions are excellent right now. I found that 35% of the homes were tenant occupied and 65% were owner occupied. There were only 3 comparable units in the market area for sale at this time. None of them were REOs. Neither REO nor short sales are a factor in today's market. So I gave a description of the neighborhood and what's going on in the marketplace here. I tried to be as descriptive as possible. I talk about the inventory and the trends, what's surrounding the subject property in terms of the type of homes, what you can find to the north, south, east, and west. And I also mentioned that it's close to schools and shopping and major highways. And moving on to the next section, I took from the MLS a range of values in the neighborhood, whether the subject property is an over improvement, under improvement, or appropriate, and the normal market time in the area. Now that number is actually an average of the 3 closed sales, how long it took for the 3 closed sales to sell. This property has not been on the market in the last 12 months. If it was, I would say yes, and I would probably give them the name of the broker and contact information. This is a single family home. It's not subject to a HOA. If it was, I would fill in that information. So here are the 3 closed sales and all the information that I filled in. They're asking for the days on the market, the sale date, whether there was any concessions for financing, and if there was, say it was an FHA loan and they gave a closing cost credit of $3,000, you would enter that in here, and you would actually make an adjustment for that. They asked for the location. This is a suburban location, and those should all match. Site can mean a couple different things. It can actually mean the size of the lot, or a description of the lot. Maybe it's level or hilly. Here in Florida, everything's flat, so I just put level, and it's the subject is 10,000 square feet, 10,604, and I'm going to put in the sizes for all the comparables. They're going to ask about views, whether perhaps it has a golf course view, a water view. In this case, there was no distinctive view. It's just a view of the neighborhood. So I just put in neighborhood. This is a ranch style home. If it was a 2-story home, I would call it a 2-story. In your part of the country, maybe you're talking about Cape type homes or 2 doors or whatever. The design and the appeal should match as much as possible. You don't want to use, in my case here, I would not use 2-story homes when the subject property is a ranch style home. Quality of construction can be good, fair, average, or excellent. In most cases, the quality of the construction is a factor of its age. So a brand new home would be considered an excellent kind of home. We'll put in its age and the ages of the comparables, its condition. Okay, so here are some ratings when it comes to condition. You'll see excellent home might be well maintained and upgraded and or quality building materials, certainly financeable. Good would be well maintained with no evidence of deferred maintenance, certainly financeable. Average is where you start to see some wear and tear and its age and neighborhood. Fair would be repairs needed, most certainly. and poor would be uninhabitable. When you're rating properties, keep this in mind here. I rated this one as good. I didn't see any deferred maintenance other than the lawn being a little brown and not a lot of landscaping. I still found that the home was in good condition. When you're doing an exterior BPO, of course, you can't tell what the interior is going to look like. You're going to assume that it coincides with the exterior. So if the exterior looks good, we're going to assume that the interior also looks good. All right, now then I'm going to enter in the bed and bath count and the number of the actual total room count. What counts as a room? Well, kitchen, dining room, family rooms, office, all count as rooms. Bathrooms, you're not going to count as a room. Closets, walk-in closets, you're not going to count as a room. If it had, you could have one bathroom, half a bathroom, three-quarters of a bathroom are all options. You're going to talk about the type of heating system it has, whether it has any energy efficient items like solar panels and the like. You're going to put in the garage and carport count, whether it has the following features like porches, patios, decks, fireplaces, and also fences and pools. And once we've filled in all that information, then we're going to make some adjustments and reconcile the whole thing. So most of these things are equal. I'm going to make an adjustment for bedrooms for sale number 1 and sale number 2. How do you come up with this number? Well, that's something you just learn by spending some time in the MLS. You're going to have to figure out what the difference in price is from a 4-bedroom to a 3-bedroom. You can even, if you have any appraisers that you're used to dealing with, you can reach out to them and say, what do you think a bedroom is worth in these neighborhoods? And they may share that information with you. I mean, appraisers are always calling me, asking me for information, so I'm not shy about asking them opinions as well. I made an adjustment for square footage, the size. I determined that the average value per square foot was about $200 per square foot. I'm not going to use that entire $200 per square foot to make an adjustment because there are different factors, like we've already adjusted for the number of bedrooms, and I don't want to skew it too far. You can use a factor of between 1/3 and you can use a factor of, say, between 1/3 and 2/3 of the price per square foot and adjust from there. In this case, I'm using about 50% or $100 per square foot adjustment. I saw that there was about a 160 square feet difference, so I adjusted it by $16,000. 160 times 160 times $100 is how I came up with the adjustment for gross living area. For sale number 1. And in sale number 2, it was closer to 500 square feet, so I made an adjustment of $50,000. 500 square feet times 100 is $50,000. I also made an adjustment for a deck and a swimming pool. Swimming pool being a difference of about $20,000. Now, it would certainly cost a lot more than $20,000 to build a swimming pool. A swimming pool does not add $50,000 worth of value to this home. You'll notice that I've noticed that the difference in value is about $20,000 in a neighborhood like this. And in a more expensive neighborhood, it might be a different number, and in a less expensive neighborhood, it might be a different number as well. Once I added all those up, I reconciled, and got an adjustable sales price. I repeated the process for sale number 2, which is I adjusted for the size, and I adjusted for the number of bedrooms, and I got a difference of $40,000. The sale price was $500,000. That means a net adjusted sales price of $540,000. Over in sale number 3, the only adjustment I had to make was for the number of garage spaces, which they were 0. So I estimated that 2 garage spaces was worth $20,000. So I added $20,000 to the sales price of $485,000, and I get an adjusted sales price of $505,000. Now they're asking whether this property is insurable. Sure looked insurable, so I checked yes. And whether the most likely buyer is going to be an owner-occupant or an investor, I checked owner-occupant. If you remember, there were 65% of the homes are owner-occupant, so that's a higher likelihood. If I had spotted any repairs, I would have put my best estimate here. So I went through the same process for the competitive listings. So the market we're in right now in early 2022, the inventory is extremely low. So I had to travel well beyond 1 mile in order to find 3 comparable listings. In fact, I actually used some that were in backup status, what we call active under contract. And you can't use those unless you're told not to. So I came up with a market value of $535,000 for this property, and I explain in the comments section below how I came up with that figure. Now I gave here below the market value, I gave some commentary as to how I came up with that number. I talk about each of these 3 closed sales and how they compare to the subject property. And I noticed that the 3 listed properties are all fairly competitively priced and could actually sell above asking price. Commentary is very important when it comes to doing BPOs, especially if you have a lot of odd comparables that don't fit into the guidelines that you're given. You're going to find the closest ones you can find, and then you're going to make commentary on each of the comps that you use. And the final step to the BPO is to upload the photos. You may be asked to also upload the MLS sheets for the comparables, so you want to do that. And if the property was listed for sale, you would want to upload the MLS listing. But there you have it. The BPO is now complete and ready to hit the send button to the asset manager. There you go, folks. That's how you do a BPO. I hope you found this informative. If you have any questions about any of this, please leave them in the comments section. I'll do my best to answer them. If you would like to download this BPO, there's a link in the description where you can do that. You'll also get a copy of the standards and guidelines that I used. The next step I recommend for you is to join the National Association of BPO Professionals. There you can get some more training, and by passing their test, you get certified as a residential pricing specialist. There is a cost involved. I get nothing for that, but I have done it even though I have tons of experience doing BPOs, and I recommend that you do the same. I've got more REO training coming, so please subscribe to my channel. My name's Tom Day, and I'll see you next time.